Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, I said it. You see the title. How are you supposed to treat a woman? Oh, this is going to be good because a lot of people want to know the answer to this question. There are a lot of inquiring minds that want to know. And so I'm going to do my best to give a solid way of treating a woman. And I think a lot of you might just be surprised by the conclusion that I came up with. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. But before I do, I want to say thank you to everybody who tune in, everybody who sub, and everybody who interacts with this channel. Um, Welcome to the new subs. There's been some new people that subbed, and I welcome you to come in and join us in conversation and just growing intentionally and learning intentionally. So, welcome to everybody. Let's go ahead and get this started. How to treat a woman. So, now, as a child coming up in a female dominated family, I witnessed the women in my family go through a lot with men, and I heard their perception of men. And based on the poor perception that was projected to me as a child, I made up in my mind that I never hurt a female. I was going to be that chivalrous dude, the guy who was the knight in shining armor, and I was just going to come through and I was going to rescue every female that I encountered, and they were just going to be so happy and so enchanted with me, and I was just going to be the apple of their eye. This is what I told myself. And I told myself that I'd give my girlfriend love, attention, positive affirmations, and she'll feel good about herself if she with me. And yeah, I thought all of that stuff. And so as I got old enough to start dating and things like that, these are the things that I attempted to do because, like I said, I grew up in a female dominated family. And so I heard all of the complaints from the female cousins. I heard all of the complaints from my aunts. I heard all of the complaints from all of the women in my family that they had about men. They would say things like, he don't show me that he loved me, and he don't show me any attention. He always hanging out with his friends, and he don't never tell me I look pretty. He doesn't even notice that I had a new wig this week. And all of those things, I heard those things and I put them in my mental Rolodex so that when I start dating, that I would be able to hit on all of these things and be the perfect man for a woman. And do you know the people that deterred me the most from doing this was women. Yeah, women. With this line right here, you're too nice. That's the line that deterred all of that. You're too nice. They didn't like that. And, they weren't saying that I was too kind or anything like that. But later on, after a lot of frustration and the initial shock of it, I came to find out that what these ladies were saying that I was passive, and I found out and understood what passive meant. That meant you're afraid of confrontation or rejection, and that's not attractive qualities to a lady. And so, I was stuck in a position of being that nice guy that finished last because I was so passive. I was basically a doormat for ladies. That's what I became because based on the information that I heard growing up and all of the complaints that I heard from the females in my family, I legitimately, wow, I'm getting tongue tied. I legitimately thought that that's what women wanted. And so that's what I did. And women showed me very fast that that's not what they want. And so I was sitting there confused. I was like, why all of these mixed signals then? Because if you claim that these are the things that you want in a man, whenever a man exhibits these things and do them for you, why then is that man considered weak and considered a simp? The word wasn't simp back then, but we call it henpecked or weak or whatever, but it was just another name for passive. And so, that shaped my mentality somewhat. I went through other things to shape my mentality and my attitude towards women, but that in particular was one of the things that shaped my attitude towards women in a not so positive way. And women taught me to treat them poorly in a lot of situations because they have never been treated good and they didn't know how to respond to it. And so, they would feel uncomfortable with me being as nice as I was because they felt like I had an ulterior motive or I was trying to set them up for something when really I was just really trying to be that guy that I heard that all women wanted. And so, I kind of digressed. I backed off of females. I stopped dating for a while. And, I really, really examined myself. Who are you as a person? What do you have to offer a female outside of sex or monetary things? And I started to look at myself. Who am I? What is my personality traits? What are my good traits? What are my poor traits? And things like that. And I began to find out what I have to offer a woman. And so as time went by, through trial and error, I've made my mistakes with women. If anybody knows my past, I was sexually assaulted as a child by a male, and this action caused a lot of mental health issues with me, especially as far as trust, especially as far as sex and relationships altogether. So having that to deal with on top of just trying to start a dating life period was an obstacle in itself. But I did it regardless, but I had some very bad habits with me based on the things that happened to me. And so I took it out on a lot of females throughout my young years of dating and things like that. And I became a dog. I became very, very resentful towards women. And there was a lot of malicious things that I did to females simply because I could. So, what changed my mind? Well, first and foremost, for the longest, I never thought that I could fall in love. Nobody could get me to fall in love with them because I just didn't have it in my heart for anybody. I truly, truly believed this 100% for the longest time. And so I would never give my full energy to anybody in a relationship or anything like that. But then I came across my first kid's mother, and this was a person who, she challenged me. And she was the first female to show me that she actually cared about me and wasn't looking for anything in return. And so I made a decision. This is a person that is really worth me trying to show that I love and show and try to do things for and express my feelings for. And so I went back to those things that I heard the women in my family complaining that men didn't do. And so I started to do those things again, thinking that this was going to win her heart over. But once again, it didn't. It made me look soft in her eyes, made me look weak in her eyes because I was passive and I didn't like confrontation. And I always said yes to everything she wanted. And that's not what she wanted. She lost respect for me as a man. And, that was ultimately the beginning of the end of our relationship. So time passes and I'm growing as a young man, a young adult, and I'm trying to figure out life. And I'm like, how do you treat a woman? How do you treat a woman in a way that she is going to be satisfied with you and that she's not going to have any problems or issues with you? Well, first and foremost, that scenario I have not seen at all ever in the history of mankind. And that'll go into kind of a biblical explanation. Now, if you're a believer of the word of God, it says that whenever Adam and Eve fell and God was passing out their punishments to them, he told Eve that, she would have pain in childbirth and all of those things like that. But the thing that I really want to put a highlighted focus on is when God said this. He said that your desire will be for your husband, but I will place him ahead of you. Now, what that roughly translates into is that I'm going to place your husband in a position of authority over you, and you're always going to have a desire to be on that same level as your husband. And so that's going to cause a power struggle in your relationship if you allow yourself to get caught up in that way of carnal thinking. But if you stay spiritual minded and if you keep God in the midst, then He'll be able to help you to work through that inevitable power struggle that's going to come in any relationship between man and woman. And that power struggle doesn't have to be a intimate sexual relationship. It can be any type of relationship between male and female. You're going to find yourself in some type of power struggle. It's it it's inevitable. And so I was like, wow, okay. So with this information, with that being said, then that means that whenever I deal with a female, I'm going to have to deal with her with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in order to have a healthy relationship, not just a relationship, but a healthy relationship. And so I began to do those things slowly but surely. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect guy and I found the formula for a great relationship, but I did find uh, um, a answer to that question: how to treat a woman. And that answer is, are y'all ready? Wait for it. The answer is, you treat a woman like a human being, not a sexual object or maid or your surrogate mom. You treat her like a human being. See, we need to strip away these titles because these titles really, really complicates things that don't need to be complicated. They really do. They really do. And so once I figured that out, oh, all I have to do is respect her like a human being should be respected. And that began to make things a lot more clear and a lot easier for me to understand. Good morning, Uncle Vern. You said you have to have respect for you and your mate. Absolutely, Uncle Vern. You got to have respect for you and your mate. And that's why I say you treat that woman like a human. We got to take these labels off. We got to take this woman. If you strip away all of the labels of woman, man, black, white, this or that, all of these adjectives that we use to describe who we are, strip all of that away, and you'll just see a human. It'll come down to that. You're not a black man. You're not a white woman. You're not a black woman or a white man. You're a man or you're a woman, period, with no other additives. And when you can see a person in that light as you're a woman, you're a human woman who deserves the same respect that I have. And I'm going to give that to you, and I'm going to acknowledge that at every turn. And when I started to do that, that's when I started to realize that, wow, this woman ain't asking for anything unreasonable. The same way that black people are asking to be treated like a human in the United States, that's exactly what women are asking. Just treat me like a human. You don't have to treat me like a weaker vessel. You don't have to treat me like a thought in the streets. You don't have none of those labels. Just treat me like a human. And so I started to do that with every single female, no matter what her character was, no matter what her background was. I treated all females like human beings. And, whether she was the dime in the room all the way down to the least desirable female in the room, I treated them both the same. I would give them the both the same amount of respect. I give them the same amount of attention. This is the thing that made me attractive to women because they notice, wow, this dude is not impressed by this and he's not repulsed by that. He sees us for being a human. He sees us for who we are, and he's not judging us on the scale that society judges us on. And so we don't have that pressure of having to live up to um, all of these different stereotypes that have been placed on us. You know what I'm saying? My wife haven't remained with me because of money, sex, or attention. Is because I can humble myself to apologize and accept her wise counsel. Now, not all the time, but more often than not, I can see and acknowledge her value. Now, that's the most important thing right there. Now, each person got a role to play in a relationship, and a clear understanding of your role will minimize those power struggles that I was talking about. And so now as I see and acknowledge her value in every situation, this reaffirms to my wife that I got her back no matter what. You're not going to run up on my lady and talk crazy to my lady, not in my presence and not even out of my presence, because if she come and let me know, I'm coming to find you and me and you got something to talk about. We got a conversation. You're not going to try to make my lady feel of less value. You're not going to do any of that, not in my presence, because I know her value and I acknowledge her value, and I'm not going to allow anybody to make her feel of lesser value for any reason. This is why my wife remains with me, even though I'm an asshole. This is why my wife will go to my defense when other people have something to say about something I said or something I did. This is why my wife has been with me for going on 16 years. And I love you, baby. I thank you for hanging in there. You're a real trooper. But I say all of that because people are like, what is it, man? Why this woman staying with him? And I know some people have had that question because I've questioned it myself on several occasions. But I know why. Because I recognize and acknowledge the value of my wife. And it's not as just being my wife. I acknowledge and I value as being a human being. Period. That's the formula right there, man. That's how you treat a woman. So if anybody got any questions on how to treat a woman, it's very simple. We've complicated it so much with all of this other stuff. Oh, you got to make her feel like this, and you got to take away that, and you got to be her this. No, you don't have to do none of that. You just have to treat her like a human being. Treat her like a human being, like you would treat any other human being that you respect. That's it. It sounds simple because it is simple, very simple. And so, as I go through my life now, and as me and my wife just go through our days with each other, we have our good days and we have our bad days. Oh, you welcome, Uncle Vern. Thank you, man. Thank you. I always appreciate your input, my brother. And I don't know, man. I just am fortunate and I'm so thankful that I was able to slow down and be able to think on this level, because a lot of people who've been through child molestation and stuff like that, they go their whole life with a heart of stone because of what happened to them when they was young and they just couldn't let it go. It was a long time, man, and I just couldn't let it go, man, and that caused a stunt of growth in my life, especially relationship wise and trust wise. I'm getting to the place to where I can start to trust people to a little bit, but that's been work over time. And so Yeah, man, it's not hard to treat a woman right. It's not hard to treat a woman good. You don't have to do all of those extra bells and whistles unless you want to. That's just extra stuff. That's extra stuff. But if you treat that woman like a human being, that is an umbrella for everything else that she desires from her man. And vice versa. Same thing with a female to a male. If you want to know how to treat a man like a human being. Period, point blank. That's all I really got to say, man. I appreciate you, Uncle Vern, for coming in with me this morning. I just wanted to drop a quick note on everybody to start the day off good, because a lot of times we'll get on here as men and we'll say a lot of disparaging things towards ladies, and we'll say some facts, but it does not show our sisters in a positive light. And a lot of our sisters will feel some type of way about these conversations. And the reason that I did this actual post this morning is because last night, shout out to my boy Phonics over there at Right the Truth. Hey, y'all go check out Right the Truth with my boy Phonics. He be definitely dropping some jewels, and he talking about what the community needs now. So salute to you, my brother. We was over there last night. We was talking about um what was the topic? Let me get the topic right. I don't want to mess it up. We was talking about the feminization of men. And so, a sister, shout out to you, Blackfire. There was a sister named Blackfire that came on, and she had some questions because she was like, "Wow, you men are really talking a lot about females." And she started asking questions to see if we had any understanding of what we was talking about. And so this is what sparked this right here, this whole entire episode, because I want our sisters to know that when we have these talks, we have to have these hard talks, and we have to voice these hard truths. And it's not always going to be a pretty thing, and it's not always going to be a flattering thing. But at the same time, I want you sisters to know that we see the other side, and we definitely understand what y'all going through. We understand y'all struggles, and we as men who are also going through these same struggles along with y'all are trying to be with y'all going through it. We don't want to be a part of your struggle. We don't want to be a part of your opposition. We just want to go through this thing with you, man, without feeling like we don't have any support system. We want to go through this thing arm in arm. You holding me up and I'm holding you up along the way. But we don't want to have to be dragging somebody, and we definitely don't want you to be dragging us, because we're going to hear about it the whole entire way. And so this is my solution, man. If you want to know how to treat your woman right, and you want to get some good responses from your woman, see her as just a human being. Strip away all of those labels and titles and everything, other adjectives that describe us or that we use to describe ourselves incorrectly, and just treat them like a human being. And you will be surprised at the difference in the change that you see in not only your attitude, but her attitude as well. So that's all I really got, man. Let me think. Let me see if I got any more notes. Yeah, I was talking about taking away the labels and uncomplicating things. I think I covered all of that, so I'm not going to be redundant and repeat that. And I'm going to just leave on a high note. So I hope y'all got something this morning. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I appreciate all of my subs. I don't call you subs or followers. I call you my people, my congregation, my friends, because we on that same level, man. I ain't above nobody. And yeah, man, I just love everybody and I appreciate you. So this is your boy D Mac, man. I'm about to get out of here and get me a cup of coffee and get this day started. Y'all do the same. Have a blessed day. Y'all know what I say, man. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can heal.